What's up, folks? This is James LaFleur with the Impossible Channel. Are you ready to have your bubble burst? Folks, one thing. Let's just say this is Earth, okay? And Earth has a protection layer, the skin. Okay. So, what happens is, I know you and your mom's probably behind you, right? Or your grandma, maybe your grandma's behind you, right? If you ask her, right, Grandma, why are we still running on gasoline? She will not have an answer. She will tell you, son, or grandson, or granddaughter, right? She will tell you, she will say, from when I was your age up until now, everything changed. Television, the internet, even the houses, the homes, everything, the cars. We have speaking cars now. We have people who speak to cars and cars who obey them, right? We have hydrogen cars. We have flying cars, right? We have airplanes. We have so many things that in the past they thought we would not have, but still, we are still running cars on gasoline. And why is that? That is the biggest question everyone wants to know the answer, right? So, there's the conspiracy, the gasoline conspiracy also, which I love. It's a very interesting subject that they say that gasoline is not actually extracted from the bottom of the oceans. It's actually made out of dead fruits and animals that they have a chemical formula, right? They have a very special chemical formula that they use to produce petroleum out of anything.
Petroleum wasn't what we thought it was, that it wasn't a fossil fuel, that it didn't come from fossil animals.
Yeah.
Is it just a mineral? Is it a mineral like any other mineral? Is that how it, what would you say, what's the origin of
You see,
petroleum?
when they first found petroleum, because they were beginning to make motors and needed on axles of wheels on railroad trains and all that sort of thing. And remember, trains started in the beginning of the 19th century. Then oil went from just a lubricant to a fuel, and it made it valuable. And Rockefeller happened to be the smartest man in the business at the time, but he made most of his money, or much of it, off the transport of the petroleum as well as selling it. But one thing they realized was, because oil is putting a price on oil is like putting a price on a pail of water. You know, no initial cost. It's in the ground, and in those days they were, some of it, almost what you'd call surface mining the oil. They didn't go down deep. So in order to get the price up, they hit on the idea that they would have to make it appear to be scarce. That boy, after we take the next few barrels out, we're probably going to have to close as well. You know, that kind of thing. Well, a very fortuitous event. In 1892, there was a convention in Geneva of scientists to determine what organic substances are. Well, the definition of organic is a substance with hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. And so it's usually a living substance, a tree. You analyze a dead tree, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, and grass and so on, living things. Animals, we are hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. So at this Geneva Convention, Rockefeller took advantage of sending some scientists over who said oil, petroleum, is hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. Therefore, it must be derived from the spoiling, the rotting of formerly living matter. And playing the game properly, when this scientific convention was over, they defined oil as the residue from formerly living matter. Well, that makes it a fossil fuel. I don't know why they decided to use the word fossil, but it says formerly living matter is fossil. Well, of course, today, and another thing we should know is that there has never been a fossil, a real fossil, found below 16,000 feet. And you can't argue at 16,000 as a level line, because someplace the ground sinks and so on, but 16 is what the scientists say, 16,000. We mine oil, or we drill for oil, at 30,000, 33,000, 28,000 every day of the week. So right there, we rule it out that it isn't fossil fuel. It's called fossil fuel for the minds of the public to feel that it is an asset that is running out, being depleted. We talk about depletion allowance, which is a lot of, you know, and actually, if you know the world's oil supply, you know that it is not going to run out for an awfully long time. It is the second most prevalent liquid on Earth.
Right? So they keep that very secret and all that, and so it's kind of infinite, and they pretend it's not, so they can plunge the prices, and they can make the prices go way high, right? So that's how things actually work. It always did. But the thing is, I'm gonna burst your bubble right now, okay? Why are we still using gasoline, and why are we punching holes into the Earth's skin, right? Is that not gonna harm the planet? So if you haven't heard about something called pre-salt gasoline, you're hearing about it right now. The idea came, I think, I don't know, from Europe, and then the Brazilians just fucking loved it. Brazilians loved it, man. Pre-salt gasoline, you mean more money, more gasoline? You mean like Brazil owning the gasoline industry? Let's go for it. So this is an information I've been holding for quite a while now. I talked to a few biologists from the, well, the petroleum industry, and they told me that 10 years ago they were paid to do some testing on the pre-salt thing, right? I think more than 10 years ago, maybe 15. They were paid to do testings on the pre-salt gasoline, which is located, it's kind of impossible and very, very, very expensive to go there. So let's just say that a normal oil platform has to excavate here, and that's it, right? Pre-salt would go this way, okay? This is pre-salt. This is infinite gasoline according to the industries, okay? So that's when everything started to go bad and smell very bad in Brazil. And that's how our president and all that went to shit, you know? Do you remember the Pasadena oil platform that was involved in Brazilian scandal? Yeah. Think about the pre-salt right now. Let's take a look at this. I don't know if they were able to, you know, punch this hole, but the problem is, I was told they do not have the technology to do this. Okay? Once they do that, there's no coming back. And they don't have the technology to take away the drill without Earth dying. In other words, they don't have the technology to avoid all the pressure that is inside our Earth from getting out of there. And that would mean that the first hole that they would punch, because of this pre-salt thing, would make the Earth leak. Okay? But not like this. Imagine that Earth is, well, I don't know if it's round or spinning, but it has a very, very enormous pressure inside of it. That's what makes volcanoes work, and that's what makes well, that's how it works, folks. And not only that, if you try to punch a hole 7 miles below, you will not be able. You will reach a metallic layer which no one was able to pass through. So what they're doing is they are passing through this layer that, well, is basically the protective layer of our planet. In other words, if they punch more than one hole, right, if they start punching holes in our planet for this pre-salt thing, which they will produce gasoline out of it, right, what will happen is our planet will dry and die. Now this would all be simple if it were just like this, right? Like, James, let's just, you know, let's fix this hole right here. That's not as simple as that. Because we have an atmosphere, folks, a little bit different from this tomato. Because we have an atmosphere and the pressure problem, the first moment they take the drill out of the hole, an enormous, I don't know how to call it, but an enormous wave of pressure would plunge into the sky and cause immediate skyfall.
Guys, this is real.
Wait,
Straight from a horror movie.
it is?
No, I'm just saying it looks like one.
Wait,
And it's moving so fast.
look!
I know.
It's the official hell versus heaven.
It would, this is literally, we're talking about the biggest volcano on Earth exploding, okay, and covering the entire planet in sulfuric acid or something like that, okay. We're talking about the same thing here. We're talking about them taking the drill out and a huge wave of sulfuric acid, whatever. I think it's pre-salt or some kind of oil. I don't know, whatever is inside our planet, folks. They don't even know for sure, right? That's gonna, you know, plunge in a very fast manner, like in thousands of kilometers per hour, into the sky. And once it gets in contact with the atmosphere, it's going to transform itself into solid rocks. Because, so they say that inside our Earth, we have the, whatever feeds the volcanoes, right? Lava and whatnots, right? That's very hot. So once they take the drill out, that plunges into the sky, very hot. And once it reaches the clouds are very cold. It will, well, solidify, transform itself into rock and fall. So the first pre-salt drill that goes wrong supposedly would cause massive extinction. Just as massive as the dinosaurs if they were real. Now, I believe, folks, that if the dinosaurs were not real, they've been doing this for quite a while, and this is an escape plan. You know, this is some kind of plan. But let's just, you know, move forward with this. So, thing is, folks, it's not cheap to drill a hole on your planet's protection layer this deep and maintain it safe. It's not cheap. Okay, it's actually very expensive. I think it's the most expensive thing ever. So of course they decided not to do it. Well, at least this is what they said at the time, but I believe they did it. They went on with it and they did it. Okay. But the coincidence is, and this is where I said I was gonna burst your bubble. The coincidence is, the minute they said they started doing this, they started chemtrailing the skies. So what I believe is going on right now, and they don't want you to know this, I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to upload this video. What they don't want you to know is that probably they fucked up. They drilled the hole that deep. Something did plunge into the sky, and to avoid massive catastrophe, they've been chemtrailing and harping the sky excessively throughout the last years. So what's happening is the storms are getting bigger. The weather is getting weirder, and, well, it hasn't rained for 3 months here, folks, where I am at right now. I don't know about you, but the weather is completely strange everywhere right now. So they're controlling the weather, that's a fact, right? So, what I want you to know is that probably all that we are being fed with are lies upon lies, you know, on top of lies. This all just because of probably a special access program that 1 or 2 guys decided to do, a company, I don't know. But we're talking about billions of lives here that do not know about this. This is very serious, right? If this is real, imagine this, folks. Imagine that they did drill a hole and they fucked up. And that now we have a, I don't know, water, I don't know, a cyclone, whatever, just plunging pressure out of the planet, pressure into the sky, and water and salt and oil and lava, whatever, into the atmosphere and creating a big storm, solidifying that part of the sky. And I gather that there are millions, I don't know, thousands of drones surrounding that area, trying to chemtrail and harp that area enough so that it contains the disaster, and because of that, they would have to do it in the whole world. You know, they would have to control the weather in the entire world, because then that way they would stop or slow down the catastrophe, right? So what I've been telling you guys lately is that there are a lot of storms that supposedly they are brewing in the outskirts of Antarctica. Now, what I think they did was they went to the secret parts of, and I've told you before about the district, right? What Admiral Byrd, one of the first military men to go to these places, for real. The hole in the middle of the earth, and Antarctica. Beyond Antarctica, to be accurate, very accurate. And before the media was completely controlled, this man comes on live television, right?
Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
A live interview, and he tells the whole world that the North Pole is crowded and is very useful militarily, right? So he's basically saying, guys, there's a bunch of aliens there, you know, and if he's not surprised, they're probably humans, but they're a little different from us. Now, you got to remember, this was before television was censored, and right after Admiral Byrd admits that there is a continent after Antarctica, between Little America 3 and this mysterious place after Antarctica that I'm going to show you in the map. This will only make sense, folks, if you look at the flat Earth map. I'm not saying that the Earth is flat, but I'm saying that if this only will make sense if you look at a bigger Earth map. You know, so the Earth may be round, but we're living in a smaller district, right? So the curvature is almost undetectable, okay? And what Admiral Byrd says is Antarctica is actually a 40,000 feet high plateau of ice.
An expedition, I take it.
Yes, that's the government.
But may I ask you, is there a great difference between the top of the world and the bottom of the world?
There is. Now, the North Pole is the center of an ocean 10,000 feet deep. The South Pole, the center of a plateau, 10,000 feet high. The North Polar Sea is surrounded by continents, slightly frozen. The Antarctic continent is surrounded by a belt of ice, frozen seas of at least 1,200 miles thick. Now, the South is a plateau. It gets, in some places, 14,000 feet up.
They went to the secret oceans and parts of the planet that we do not know about, and I think that they drilled whatever hole they drilled it over there, right? Very far away from our continents. So in a way that if it went wrong, they would be able to contain the disaster for quite a while. And I believe that's the reason, folks, that we have not stopped using gasoline up until now. And that's one of the reasons I believe they're chemtrailing and controlling the weather in a desperate form. Now, again, if you go back to the oil conspiracy, right? The interesting thing is, if indeed they are not drilling holes after oil, what are they drilling holes after? So what I'm going to leave you is with the conspiracy and with the theory that the Earth might be bigger, and that humans might have actually been trying to get out of here for quite some time now, and they have not found a way. That's one of the reasons they cannot tell you they did not go to the moon. That's one of the reasons they say that they lost all the moon's footage and tapes and everything, evidence, everything. They lost it, and that's why they don't go to the moon. And that's why they're drilling holes, because they found out that it's much easier to try to get out of here going below than above. You know, It's not a coincidence that so many games and movies right now contain the phrase SKYFALL. You know, SKYFALL, SKYFALL this, SKYFALL that, you know. So they're trying to contain a catastrophe that they may have caused. They knew this was going to happen, you know, they knew this was possible. Folks, that's it.
Guys, this is real.
Wait,
Straight from a horror movie.
it is?
No, I'm just saying it looks like one.
Wait,
And it's moving so fast.
look!
I know.
It's the official Hell versus Heaven.